Notice I started off by saying, if we accept those days as ordinary days, right there's a contentious issue in the church and with many of our Christian leaders. I would say this, from 30 years' experience in this ministry, the majority of Christian leaders, the majority of pastors, the majority of Christian college professors, seminary professors, Bible college professors, the majority of Christians in our churches, elders, deacons, will not take a stand on 6 literal days. Why is that? Does that mean when you read the Bible, it must be very difficult to determine what the word day means in Genesis chapter 1? You know, I had a pastor once say to me, but the word day can mean something other than ordinary day. I said, that's true, but it can also mean an ordinary day. He said, but it can mean something other than ordinary day. I said, that's true, but it can also mean an ordinary day. He said, but it can mean something other than ordinary day. This went on for a long time. I said, but so what? You know, most words have 2 or more meanings dependent upon context. Of course the word day can mean something other than ordinary day. But the point is, it can also mean day. In fact, its major meaning is day. Surprisingly. I had another man call me up once on radio and he says, you know, I agree with you that evolution is not true, but I don't believe those days of creation in Genesis. I don't believe they're ordinary days. I said, oh, you don't? He said, no. He said, I agree with you that evolution is not true, though. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, but the days of creation, we don't know what they were. I said, oh, okay. He said, yeah, we don't know what the word day means in Genesis 1. I said, oh, okay. I said, can you tell me then when the word for day means an ordinary day? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you don't believe the word day in Genesis 1 means an ordinary day. He said, no, I don't believe it means an ordinary day. We don't know what it means. I said, okay, so you must know when the word day means an ordinary day to know that it doesn't mean an ordinary day in Genesis 1. So could you tell me when the word day does mean an ordinary day so I know why it doesn't mean an ordinary day in Genesis 1? And he goes, huh? And you know, I find that with many Christians, they'll say, well, we don't know what the word day means in Genesis 1. Oh, when does the word day mean an ordinary day so I know why we don't know what it means in Genesis 1? Huh? They don't know. Here's the interesting thing. Ever thought about this? You know, the Hebrew word for day is used in the singular and plural form 2,301 times in the Old Testament. And, you know, it's not always translated as meaning an ordinary day because most words have 2 or more meanings dependent upon context, and so does the word day. For instance, in English, we can use the word day to mean different things. Take this phrase, back in my father's day. That doesn't mean an ordinary day. That means back in my father's what? Time. It took 10 days, that'd be 10 24-hour days, to drive across the Australian outback during the day. That means the daylight portion of a day. There's a word day with 3 different meanings. What about the word back? I could say, well, some of you are at the back and you came back after the break and you're sitting with your back against the back of a chair and you have a sore back. There you are. There's the word back with a number of different meanings. Context determines those meanings, right? And you know, it's the same with the Hebrew word for day. The Hebrew word yom has a number of different meanings. When we read in the scripture, in the day of the Lord, in the day that God created, there it means time, in the time that he created, in the time of the judges and so on. It means time. When we use the word day, talking about, you know, we travel for so many days, we know what it means. The Hebrew word day can have a number of different meanings, just like the English word day. But here's the interesting point. The Hebrew word for day in the singular and plural form is used over 2,300 times in the Old Testament, and we know what it means everywhere it's used except Genesis chapter 1. Why is that? I mean, you think about it. We don't read the account of Joshua and say, now, how long did Joshua take to march around Jericho? I mean, what does a day mean? Was it 1,000,000 years? Was it 100,000 years? I mean, how long did Joshua take to march around Jericho? We don't question what the word day meant there. When it says in the day of the Lord, in the time of the judges, we don't question what the word day means there. But when it comes to Genesis 1, we don't know what it means. Why is that?